Hello and welcome to the Divisive Issues Patreon special for this January month.
Even though it's January, it's more like Christmas in January, am I right?
Yeah,
so
it's
right.
probably snowing. Snow reminds you of Christmas, maybe.
I still have my tree up, guaranteed. Even though I'm not in January yet, I know I do.
You know what? The stories that we're about to present to our viewers they're not like Christmassy. I think they're like holiday stuff. So I think it kind of just like fits because it's about like a seasonal time of year, and it was just New Year's, so.
Yes. So what we did was originally Sly had some plans to do our Christmas episode on some fun one-off Christmas stories.
So these are actually leftovers from the Christmas special from before, the one where we did Punisher Save a Santa Claus and taking a vow of nonviolence and stuff like that going on.
Yeah, and like all holidays, the leftovers are always better because you get to eat them without your family.
Oh, wow.
So Ryan is clearly embodiment of the Christmas spirit.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to highlight in that first episode that I never got to because I found it so fucking weird. There are a lot of Punisher Christmas specials, at least 5 that I know of. And so what we're covering today is actually, there was a Punisher Holiday Special series in the 90s. It only lasted for 3 issues, but they actually made a series of this. That
Were they different holidays or were they all Christmas?
they're all Christmas. It was just a Christmas, and only Punisher. I don't know why Punisher of all characters.
I think it's like the juxtaposition of Punisher and Christmas is like magic. It's sort of like Batman and Christmas or something. But at least Batman has like a family. He's got Robin and Alfred, whereas Punisher's alone.
Think about every Christmas special. There's always like some big grump that learns the power of compassion by the end. Mm-hmm. You have your Ebenezer Scrooges and your Grinches.
And your Wolverines.
And your Wolverines. Yeah, like I feel like that if it's everyone's all happy and cheery, you have then you have the Christmas episodes that are...
Normally you have people who are believers who kind of soften the grump a little, whereas Punisher is the grump by himself, and he's like, this really just does suck.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, we're doing a Chuck Dixon, Dale Eaglesham Punisher story, right?
Yes. So one reason why I wanted to do this for a while is because talking to some modern Punisher fans, it seems like a lot of people only know a Garth Ennis onward, which is surreal to me as a guy who always associate Punisher with Chuck Dixon. But Chuck Dixon was like the biggest Punisher ride before Garth Ennis took over the role, and he wrote him off and on in many of his series. Before he kind of fell off the map because he is one of the few conservative writers in Marvel, and basically he like would say like he got like pressured out because of his politics. But Punisher, a lot of Punisher writers in general back then were all conservatives, which is why I find it funny that now you have all types of people writing him, not just conservatives, and taking different interpretations on him.
What's so funny to me about Chuck Dixon is I don't know about his Punisher's politics, but like at DC, he wrote a lot of like what would probably be considered like ham-fisted SJW comics by today's standards.
Really?
Because he like really established Cass Kane as the new Batgirl.
Oh yes,
and, like went into like her disability more. He did all like teen pregnancy stories with Spoiler, and he established Tim Drake as the more like modern teen hero. And it was so funny because I looked at like his 90s Batman work as like expanding the line to be way more inclusive than just like a bunch of white guys. And then later on he was just like, these SJWs are taking over comics. I'm like, wait, what?
Well, this thing happened to a lot of people, especially after 9/11. Like Frank Miller used to be less strictly conservative. Now he's more strictly conservative. So
the more Fox News you watch, the
Fox specification.
It always surprises me. So is his Punisher
when did this come out?
1993, I believe.
Because Fox News literally started in like
95.
1997 or something. Literally.
Because the reason why I asked is because I know like Jerry Conway, who created the Punisher, wanted him to be like a deconstruction and satire of that kind of conservative vigilante. Did Chuck Dixon just write him as a straight like kill all the bad guys, this is good kind of character?
Basically, but like so like it's interesting because it shows the changing times. Because when Punisher was created, he was created it's when we were still kind of liberal as a society, and that was viewed as a bad thing. Then by the 80s, when after Dirty Harry, and
Dirty Larry.
the Death
That's
Wish,
Leisure Suit Larry.
basically the culture shifted towards the Punisher in a shocking, just like the culture shifted towards Rorschach too. Like there's a weird shift in the culture where what used to be a parody became that's what's right. That's what we got to do.
It's authentic, yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into.
So I gotta
actual story.
say, I think the art in this is so good. I think it is incredible how the bodies in this contort when they get shot. It is disturbing to watch. I think, and it's something I haven't seen in almost any comics we've read. Where as these people die, they make like a little like O or gasp, and their bodies like contort in such ways that it like bothered me to watch them die. When in comics, a lot of times it's so cartoony that it's like I can't feel like these are actually people dying.
This guy has a good grasp on anatomy for sure.
Yes, like that.
Yeah.
Like even when there's like scenes where there's just like bodies slumped on the stairs and stuff, and it's like it was so chilling to me to watch.
So Dale Eaglesham is actually like one of my favorite modern artists.
Oh, really?
He's currently doing the Shazam book. And
yes, he's really good.
Yeah,
he's really good.
I really, really like him. We've seen him earlier. He was one of the artists that popped in every once in a while on 52.
Oh, yes.
For me, Christy Shield, the colorist, was the
coloring is
the biggest
really
thing
good.
because the coloring is all really muted, which really helps with the story. It's like it's muted during like scenes of tenseness, and then it
when they're
gets
in the
brighter
dark,
when there's action. And it's like it's just like it's so nicely juxtaposed to like if you look at the coloring of the second story, which we're not going to cover, like that's just like such a 90s like blah. But I mean, it's good art and good coloring.
Heavy on gradients, heavy like primary colors, and even the art style is very comic booky with everyone looking muscular and stuff. While here people look
The
like
second
zombies.
story,
The second story. Yeah. Yes.
In this one, yeah.
It's funny because like 90s Marvel, like mid 90s Marvel, especially like right about here in 95, I feel like most of their line, the art was like pretty much garbage. But you have these weird spin-off books like this Punisher Holiday Special that I think because it was like not this huge series, it wasn't like the Avengers or anything, they could be a little more experimental and it ages so much better.
Yeah. The books because like the books that were the top A tier books got like the Rob Liefelds and the Jim Lees. These books they pick whoever they got on staff, and you got weird choices sometimes that ended up working out.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it starts in Kansas, and this is very narration heavy with the Punisher narrating things.
Yes,
because he's saying like Kansas is flat as a pool table, great sniping country. Like I have a choice, and he's set out outside of this house in the middle of like a snowy field, and through his sniper lens, he's watching for like a family because his target's inside, and
under witness protection.
Yes.
So there's federal marshals all around too.
So the question that I have here, just in the immediate setup, is this guy is about to turn over a bunch of evidence for the mob.
He might have already turned over the evidence.
But
now he's
then,
like, fuck you.
so my question is, as you can imagine, like the mob is about to show up and also try to kill him. But what? So if the mob's trying to kill him, that means he still hasn't turned over the evidence, I would guess.
Or it's revenge. It could be like a revenge.
Yeah,
it
could be to intimidate other witnesses too.
They say later on, this guy has his family, his wife and his son here, and there's a hit out on the entire family. It's meant to show a sign like, you double cross me, your entire family is going to get killed, not just you.
That makes more sense, because I thought that he was trying, like, I thought the guy was about to turn over evidence, that's why they were going to kill him, and I was like, if the Punisher kills this guy, like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I assumed he was like he's now getting away with his crime. He turned over the evidence. Now he's like living free.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Even in Ryan's scenario, Punisher probably planned to kill the rest of the mob too. Like he's just picking out this guy out first. So like,
yeah,
he doesn't need the court case.
Yeah. But I mean, when they do show up, Punisher's basically like, well, now I get to kill all these guys too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's laying down the field with like a sniper rifle, but then 2 truckloads of just mobster men come in and they start getting in a gunfight with the federal agents. And
they're wearing
Punisher...
ski masks and parkas, and they start shooting out a
bunch of Captain Cold show up.
Yeah.
And then Punisher gets into his vehicle and he like rams into one of their cars as his target inside has to take his family upstairs.
Yeah, I know I said this before, but like I do think the gunfights are so interesting because of the fact that you see people always after they've been shot, kind of. So it's like, instead of just like someone hiding behind a corner going pew pew pew, and then another person shoots pew pew pew, and then they're behind a corner. It's like it's always these action shots of Punisher in this pose, like shooting people, and then they're already filled with bullets, like reeling as they're shooting it, like
midair, like
in their death throws.
Yeah.
And the federal agents and the mobsters also in those, like shooting each other as well. It's just like I was able to really follow the action and be invested in it because of the way it was done.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll see like a slew of bullets where you'll see the guy's literal clothes like stretched because the bullets are like pulling their
ripping
shirts
through
out.
them.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's pretty intense.
And
really
on
is.
top of this is like the Punisher's narration of him like talking about like him using his weapon, because he pulls out an assault rifle and he's like, a 40 mil bloop round should keep the ball rolling. Marco packed these rounds with Semtex wrapped in king steel wire. Loud and mean, throws fine shrapnel spray for 30 yards around. And then he thinks about throwing a grenade in the house to bring it down, kill everyone, but he's like, there's a wife and kid inside, like someone's got to think about them.
Yeah.
And you have like the husband's upstairs having his family hide in a
main target guy.
I love this
hide in a closet, and then he just bolts it to like run away, and his wife
He hides his family. He hides his family in the closet and then leaves them. Like, and he says, like, I'm going to.
I'm going to lure them away from you and Kenny. And she's like, no, you're running, Nikki. Don't lie to me.
Yeah. And then she tells the son, she's like, fuck, your father sucks.
Yeah,
He's
she
such
holds
a
the
piece
son
of
and she's
shit.
like, your father's no good, Kenny. Never was. And then she's like, someone's coming. And then you see like bullet holes, like the light from outside as the bullet hole. The light from a hallway shining in through bullet holes as the wife gets murdered now.
Yes.
And then the kid's laying down. Like, the kid's terrified. A guy puts a gun to his head, but then the Punisher stabs him in the back.
It's, again, these the O gets me, too, because I think, like, in comics and TV shows and stuff, it's always, like, they either say a cool line or they say nothing. But in reality, people have, like, gasps, like death gasps as they die.
Yeah.
And it's like that... It was portrayed so well here, where I actually was like,
Or the comic book thing is like yarg, like in big letters
Yeah.
or something. Instead of like
Yeah.
it's like the word bubbles like straining on over his O as he dies.
yeah.
And then the Punisher's like, the kid's in shock. I try to force a smile. Maybe that just makes things worse. And he starts
He
bringing him
also
downstairs.
lies to the kid. He's like, we're going for a ride. And the kid's like,
Yep.
my mommy? And he's like, yeah, she'll be here later. Fuck you.
I like that he
clarify,
lies to him about that.
based on that, you can tell, but this is a really young kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like 6 or 7.
And you see dead federal marshals everywhere too, which is something that I don't know. A lot of fiction doesn't like to show dead cops everywhere, but
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe I won't spoil this other thing, but never mind.
Excuse me.
No, I'm gonna spoil it. If you guys have ever, it's only the first 15 minutes of this movie. If you guys ever watch The Raid, it's a martial arts movie.
Oh yes, that was.
But like the cops all get murdered in the first 15 minutes, and I was like, when I was watching it, I'm like, I've never watched so many cops just get brutally slaughtered. Like, it's something that fiction doesn't often like to show.
Comics, especially, because it was literally against the law for decades.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't show it.
So seeing all these federal marshals, they're like slumped all like intertwined with each other on the staircase. Like it's
And also
brutal.
intertwined with bodies of mobsters too,
Yeah,
like in
it's
the kitchen.
It's very brutal and gory.
Yeah.
But without a lot of blood, like no blood, but it's brutal anyway.
Yeah. The kid asks him, "Are you a marshal?" And he's like, "I'm kind of unofficial, like a spy." And he just says, "Whatever."
Yeah.
So he takes him into his car.
Yep, takes him to his car. He drives off, and he's like looking at him and kind of reminds him of his own son. My boy was around the same age when I last saw him. That was before I went to war, before I traded my heart for a stone. And then he stops at a gas station, and the kid's like, "I gotta go pee," and he's like, "Oh, you can pee after I head in here."
Yeah, he wants to go. He leaves the kid in the car and goes to the store, and you can see the kids sneaking out of the car, and guys in another car spotting the kid and pulling out their guns.
And they're a second string of mobsters that were meant to go in if the first group of mobsters had failed. And I like that he brings up that they're not like good. You know,
They're bench
your
warmers,
second.
he calls them.
Yeah, they're your bench warmers. Your second stringers for a reason.
It's also so funny to me that while this is happening, Punisher's is in like the 7-Eleven or whatever, and this guy's just like, "You heading south?" And Punisher's in his full costume, in like the
Big
spandex
skull.
with his belt, with his big skull covered in guns, and he's like, "No," and the guy's like, "Gotta go warm. Snow sucks, right?" And Punisher's like, "I know the snow sucks." It's so funny to me.
I imagine he thinks this is just a guy in the Punisher, like, those assholes who wear Punisher shirts.
Yeah.
So he
Punisher
shoots,
fan, huh?
Yeah, he shoots all the second string of mobsters, and then the kid's trying to run away again, and Punisher gets in the car, and then he swerves around and stops in front of the kid, and he says, "Get in the back and stay down. Do like I tell you this time."
Yeah.
And then he tells the kid to like lay down and get some sleep.
The thing that I really like about this scene too is the kid's like, "You're not a cop, but you're not a bad guy. What are you?" And he's like, "I'm just a concerned citizen." The kid's like, "My dad's got lots of friends like that. They don't do much, but they hang around the house. And when I ask my dad what they do, he tells me to just shut up." And like, I really like this idea that like the kid can't distinguish between just like hired goons from the mob and a vigilante, because if you don't understand the morality of the world, like they're kind of the same.
Yeah, both guys with guns. They're like, "Shut up."
Yeah, exactly.
And and then he tells the kid to go to sleep, and the kid's like, he can't, but he's like, just try. And he watches the kid through the rearview mirror, sleeping, and he comments, "I used to watch my kids sleep just like this. Just watch them sleep and wonder at their dreams. Now they dream all the time."
And then as he's watching the kid, another car of mobsters comes up and like slams into him, and he says, I wasn't watching. I let down my guard for a second. They shoot through the window.
They shoot like through the arm.
Yeah, him through the arm.
So this is why I love Chuck Dixon's writing, because he introduced this idea before he's going to win the gunfight, because to win the gunfight, you can't be afraid to die.
Yeah,
so he says,
I love that. It's like you have to go into any of these fights just not caring whether you win or lose. Like, and that's such an interesting idea, that the fear and hesitation and fear of death makes people hesitate because they don't want to go into a deathly situation. But he's, as someone who's lost it all, is like, I don't give a fuck if I die, so I will win.
And he brings it up here saying, "Oh, they want to play chicken, and the chicken rules are same as a gunfight. So now you can't care where you want to lose." So he just rams his car in front of the other car and starts shooting at them while his car's in front of theirs.
Yeah, he spins the car to its side, so they basically T-bone him as he's shooting through the windshield out of his driver's side window.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
and so
cool.
he kills them, and then him and the kid now have to walk through the snow on like the side of the road. And as they approach,
basically they're walking. So they approach. There's a police.
Police are
like an
everywhere
interstate
now.
section, and it's police
Checking for mooks.
yeah,
They
checking
have
cars.
to stay locked up. They have to stay locked up to check your cars. And Punisher is heading towards them across the snowy field.
Yeah, and he says you should go with them. The police will make sure that no one hurts you. And he says, "I want to stay with you. I want you to take me to my daddy." And he says, "Your daddy's dead, son. He died back at the house." And he's like, "Okay, I want to stay with you." And narration says, "Heart of stone." And he tells him, "Your father's dead, and I killed him."
And then the kid just freezes up and walks away.
Yeah,
from
he like
Punisher.
looks at him like terrified, and then he just walks over to the police.
Don't know if he'll tell the cops about me. That's the chance I take. That's the only way you win this game, by not caring.
And that's the end of the story.
I loved this story so much.
It's pretty good.
I really
it was
loved
real
it.
dark.
And I like this little war journal thing at the end too. Like, I was reading through this, and at the end of the second issue, which we weren't supposed to read, but I read the arsenal thing at the end of there too, and it just talks about the different guns he uses and why he likes them and how he's used them in his life and stuff.
Yeah, like
I'm
the modifications he's made to
Yeah,
them.
I'm like, this is really cool because it really builds character on this guy, and that he knows this shit like from top to bottom. It's not because it's one of those things that it can be hard to buy into the idea of the Punisher. I'm like, how does one guy win gunfights against 10 people? But he's so immersed in this life that he is the expert on shooting people.
Yeah,
that's why I find it interesting, because the war journal and like as a concept and Punisher's narration is so ingrained with the character, like even to this day. So like even though like a lot of these writers aren't as credited as the of the modern comics, like all the concepts are still the character and trying. So you can still feel the influence in modern day.
And like, I love Chuck Dixon's writing a lot, and I like this book a lot. But it's funny because like you could definitely tell our tastes, because the gun stuff, I was like, I could not give less of a shit about this. But like, I understand that that's a big draw for the Punisher character.
It's good
and that
world
is
building.
interesting. And
Yeah,
good.
it's It's so
Yeah,
well
it's
delivered.
I recognize that it's good, but while I was reading, I was just like, man, give me more sad kids with dead dads.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
So now we're just transitioning to another happy Christmas story. This one is
I feel like we
about
had to
Robin.
put these on Patreon because this is like too dark for mainstream
Yeah.
TV or podcasting.
This is a rated R Christmas special. It's
Yeah,
only
it
for
truly
adults.
is.
So we're going to be doing Detective Comics 826 from 2007, and this is written by Paul Dini, who most people know as the creator and head writer of the Batman animated series and the Superman animated series. And
I didn't know
this is my favorite Batman era personally, because you had Grant Morrison doing crazy stuff on the main Batman book, and you had Paul Dini doing mostly one-offs, just like fun villain stories, and like kind of just like more like the cartoon of just like good Batman stories
Yeah.
over in Detective Comics, and they were going at the same time, and it was such a cool time to like read it. And nobody ever really talks about any of those books anymore, but this issue comes up a lot in like favorite Joker stories lists.
Huh.
I can definitely see it.
Yeah.
People don't talk about eras as much, but that's something Ryan made me more aware of, because there are points where the quality of the entire series is up, but when people look back on books, they just look at runs. You don't look at, well, you had this whole era where you had the top talent on all Batman books, and they're all worth reading their own
Yeah,
way.
well, that's what I mean about like '90s Chuck Dixon. He was writing like Batgirl and Robin and Detective and Batman, like the whole line. Even when he wasn't writing them, they still were like cohesive and had like they were all building towards the same kind of tone and world and goal. And like I think that's one of the things like we always complain about Batman having like 4 books or X-Men having like 10 different titles, but when they're all in sync together, it's just more good comics. When they're bad is when it's like it's impossible to follow. But like Dini's Detective run doesn't really cross over with Morrison's Batman at all. They're very separate, and it's like it's fun because if whatever you're looking for out of the franchise, you can get in one of the 2 books.
So
Here we go.
The story opens with Tim Drake as Robin, and he's driving away from people shooting at him.
Oh, and it's called Slayride.
Yeah.
Slayride.
And his narration explains that, like, I hate when things go wrong, and today they've really gone wrong. And he was trying to bust this drug deal that was going on, but a rival.
Now they're chasing after him.
Yeah, rival dealers came to shoot it out, and he got caught in the middle. So now that they're chasing after him, so he has to like crash his bike. He jumps away from the car, and he throws like a smoke grenade inside of it, and then he starts like running away from the car again. And someone pulls up and opens their door, and it's like, Robin, over here. And he's like, I don't know who it is, but I don't care. I need distance from those thugs. Besides,
He also like he got shot in the cape, and like he says like the armor will hold, but like you could tell he's like barely making it out of this as it is.
Yeah, he got 2 cars on him, and they're both trying to run him over.
Yeah, I need distance from those thugs. And besides, any port in a storm. And then it just shows the Joker's smiling, grinning face, and he's like, "Sup?" And then he gasses him, and he passes out. And this is well, he's passed out. He flashes back to him talking to.
It's Dick Grayson.
Okay.
Yeah, while Tim Drake is passed out from the Joker's gas, he's flashbacking to Dick Grayson talk about Joker, because
It's the thing that's so funny. So it's Tim Drake and Dick Grayson watching Marx Brothers movies and just hanging out and playing darts, while Batman is outside like jumping off poles and like smashing wood blocks. Like he's training so hard, and they're just hanging out watching movies. That's what Batman does to hang out.
He hangs out in the next room beating stuff up.
Yeah.
This actually reminds me a lot of I forget which Christmas episode it was in the animated series, but Batman wanted to go out Batmaning, and Dick Grayson's like, let's just sit home and watch It's a Wonderful Life. Like, come on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Tim Drake is asking about Joker. He's like, you ever think about him? And he's like, there's like not much to tell about him. You know, whatever had happened to him, he was a failed comedian, and the accident that had happened to him turned him into what he is now. But he loves what he does. I've seen him saunter into a room and then stop just to listen to those first curious whispers and savor how quickly they turn into screams. It's candy to him, a sip of rare wine, a chorus of a favorite song.
And Tim Drake says, blood in the water, and Batman comes in saying, exactly.
Yep. So he savors like the, people suffering. He enjoys it so much. And Tim Drake starts to come to as like the memory fades out. And it's just
And the
the
Joker's
Joker's
singing holiday song.
Yeah.
He's
just in
rapping,
the-
Robin's wrapped up in like Christmas
Yeah.
hostage gear, like Christmas lights around him. He's got
It's
bows
like
on
tape and Christmas lights.
him, and he's got
He's
ornament
got
in his
a
mouth.
yeah, an ornament in
Yep.
his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hiya, kiddo. Sorry about the gas. But I didn't want you getting the wrong idea and start pounding your old Uncle Joker. And
I love this so much because he's just like, just so you know, I tossed your utility belt out the window 10 minutes ago. I can't have you doing that. And he's like, I just want you to
precautions and all
know-
that.
Yeah, he's like, it's just funny that I happen to be out here. We never just hang out. We never do this anymore. We're always like, trying to destroy each other. But I figured, why not cut him a break? Let's just hang out.
Yeah, so he says I wasn't planning to meet up with you, but this is like a 1 million chance that I meet you where I did.
And since it's Christmas, maybe we could have a truce. Like, I don't want to, Christmas spirit is, it makes me feel like pressing my advantage would be anticlimactic. But I'm going to let you go. As soon as we
Yeah,
find
and the whole time,
someplace-
Tim Drake's narration is just like, don't react. He's lying. Don't give him anything
Yep.
to work with.
Yeah, and it shows like the Joker's messing with the temperature in the car. He has up to 90 degrees in the car. He's trying to like sweat him out.
Oh, yeah.
in his
Yeah,
own
and-
suit.
And Robin says because he's disoriented from the Joker thing, and like the heat and the Joker venom is making him want to go back to sleep.
Yeah. And so he's like, use the pain in your shoulder to stay awake.
Yeah, being like shot. He says, "Don't react. Don't give him anything." And it's a cool like juxtaposition throughout like this whole thing where you get like Joker saying something, and since Robin can't talk, it's just the little tiny like narration bubble of his reaction to all of the Joker, what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like how Joker's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna let you go. We're just at the end of this, and he's like, it's some kind of trick. It's got to be a little present from me to you in honor of all the. And then he just hits this guy that was walking in the middle of the street. And he's like, oh my god, did you see it? That poor old
car.
man.
Hits him with his car.
Yeah.
Yeah, hits him with the car. He ran right in front of me. We better back up and help him. And he runs him over. He's like,
It's so-
"Ooh, that wasn't a
It's
good
so
idea."
brutal. And then he says,
Yeah.
can you turn around and look? See if he's okay? And there's 2 dead people in the back, and they have the Joker, like, what do you call that? Like, laughing gas?
The back of the
Yeah.
car, so the back seat, so you could tell like Joker just killed his family and stole their car.
Yeah,
And they have, like, the giant grins on there. It's so creepy.
yeah.
And then Joker calls 911 and he's like, yes, I'd like to report a hit and run, corner of Market and Broom. And then he hits another lady. He's like, oops, my bad. Make that Market and Boyle.
Yeah, and it's really dark because it was like where Phil was saying. I think with the last comic, like with Punisher, I like expect people to get shot and to get like murdered and stuff, but I feel like it's so rarely do you see Joker killing people
I agree.
in like a Batman comic, because this was like, wow, this is like really dark, especially this is again like a holiday kind of story, because as this lady's getting murdered by the Joker as the car hits her, you see like her bags fly out and there's presents inside because she was buying them for her family and friends. You're
And,
like, wow,
and it's
real
worse
dark.
because it's not like 1 or 2. He starts to just drive on the sidewalk and hit all these people. He's just like literally just running over people who are holiday
Yeah.
shopping.
And it also shows the Joker as a character pretty well, because Joker is playing this as a black comedy.
Yeah.
Robin, he goes beneath his gag, he's saying "son of a bitch," and Joker just saying, "Oh, there's no reason for that kind of language. It is snowing outside. The roads do get slippery," and he keeps running over people with his car.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, this is to go back to your point about like you never really see the Joker kill people. You too often don't see him take like a personal stake. He'll like murder 10,000 people with some gas attack, but like
Yeah.
this is like he's just picking out random people.
That's
and
the
just
thing. It's
killing them.
the indiscriminate violence rather than like the planned like bomb that will. It's like if that bomb goes off, it'll blow up like an orphanage and kill kids, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, that's really dark. But here, it's just like watching him just kill people for fun is like
Yeah.
the real like it's an evil that you rarely see, or at least I've rarely read from Batman.
Off-screen
stories.
high number deaths, like
Yeah.
Coast City,
Yeah.
R.I.P. But
Yeah.
like, it's like it's not as for me.
You don't feel the impact of that as seeing someone get hit and their shopping bag flies open with a present inside. You're like, that's a present this person's
Personal-
never gonna get.
Yeah, like personal murder. It's the same
Yeah.
way people like you've heard that quote a million times, like killing
From-
one
from
person's
Stalin,
murder,
supposedly.
right? But like
Yeah.
millions are just a statistic because you have no personal. You can't see the human in it anymore when it just becomes numbers. But
Yeah.
to actually have someone go and stab someone to death, for example, most people cannot do that because
Yeah.
it's against our nature.
And this is my favorite type of Joker is the like I feel like the animated series did this well too. I mean, it's written by the same guy, so it makes sense. But like where he's funny, he's like actually funny, but like you can't laugh because he's also terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what he's gonna do, and like that's why like the super serious Joker takes I don't like as much, because like this, like he's saying jokes that are pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, the super serious ones where it's like it's not so he's supposed to be making an actual point about society, whereas here this is your worst nightmare, living like being trapped with this guy, rather than like, oh, that's interesting.
This premise is so fascinating because you rarely see someone in the Bat family just have to watch
Yes.
and have no agency whatsoever.
Yeah.
So like now it cuts to after he's just rolling through the sidewalk. Joker's just like, you're kind of testy. Are you hungry? I'm starved. What's that eggnog place? I could go for one of those. And like, he's just like, oh, I know they're fat, but I love them.
Robin's narration is like, okay, this is it. This is the gag. He's going to kill everyone and he's going to make you watch. And he starts thinking, it's like, all right, think about it. There's a young couple. They bought presents, toys. That means they have a kid. Kids drop things. In the back of the seat, there's got to be like a broken CD cover, a pencil, a tool, something. And he finds a toy car. And he's like, I pop off the hood. I use the hood to cut the ropes. And while this is going on, Joker goes to this drive-thru and he starts like ordering really fast everything that he wants. And the woman's like, sir, you'll have to talk slower. So then he pulls up into the window. He's like, the incompetence here. I demand to see your manager. And the manager comes up and he's like, I'm sorry, sir, how may I help you? And the funny thing I was thinking is sort of like with the Punisher thing, I'm like, how do these people not know this is the Joker driving up?
Especially living in Gotham.
There's probably, I imagine there's lots of people that just dress up as Joker as a fucking, just like many people dress up in stupid shit in the real world.
But like as serial killers who are currently on the loose, I bet no one.
I mean, it's also like, he's in a car, and I feel like if I worked at a drive-thru, it would just be so rote. I wouldn't even look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the manager comes up. He's like, "How may I help you, sir?" And just shoots him in the head. He's like,
I really wanted those shakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to butcher that point about Joker being legit funny, the way I found out about this comic was people would post this as like a meme. This page of Joker shooting a fast food guy. People are like, this is so hilarious. So like, so that shows like the humor potential, even though it's a dark scenario. Like, it's a dark comedy
this
going
is like out of the funniest things. It's just like him shooting this manager.
And
Yeah.
the thing is, I feel like this issue also showcases Tim Drake really well too, because you see his inner narration that like he's scared, like something you would never hear like Batman do, but he's also like trying to be super resourceful. And I like that they like so often detective stories don't show enough actual detective work, and just seeing him think through like, okay, there's a couple, there's presents, there has to be kids, like, oh, here's a toy, like that. I really like that it shows that Tim is smart and resourceful, even though he's like, I don't know what's going on, I'm really scared.
Yeah.
I also think it's brilliant because if Batman was in the situation, you would know Batman would get out of it eventually. Well, one of the points is that Joker is not familiar with. I mean, Robin's not familiar with Joker, and so now
Joker killed the last Robin.
I was gonna say, when I'm reading this, I'm like, I've seen Robins die. I'm not 100% sure this Robin doesn't die.
But I think that's brilliant from setting the suspense, because you could Batman. This is Batman. You'd be like, whatever. It's Batman has experienced this probably millions of times, but it's clear that Tim Drake is not familiar with Joker based on that flashback.
So then, speaking of Tim, his plan with this car.
Yeah.
This breaks my heart every time.
Joker's like, oh, well, life's full of disappointment because he didn't get his shake. And he says, that reminds me, I better get rid of this. And he snatches the car out from his gloves.
The toy car.
Yeah,
he was like, I just thought it'd be a fun prank to let you think you could get away.
Yeah, and just like the same prank with saying, I'm going to let you go at the end of this. And he's like, don't worry about like feeling for anything under the seat. I promise you anything's not there. It's a really good like drawing of Joker looking like real crazy and manic. And so Tim tries to just like cool down. He's like, "There's always a way out. You gotta keep thinking." And he pulls like
my hands are really sweaty, which he starts thinking this is good. Maybe I can pull my hand out
of his gloves, which are tied to behind his back, and he pulls the ornament out from his mouth. And it's
the Joker does. Joker now it's like he takes the gag off Robin's mouth and says tell me, like BC wants Robin to talk to him.
Yeah.
If you won't plead with me for your life, I'm sure you'll speak up for someone else's. Ooh, looky, kids and Santa. Now there's my wish come true. And he starts just driving towards them. And he's like, are you sure there's nothing like you want to ask about this?
Sure, if you got nothing to say for dear old Santa Claus? And Robin says,
Yeah, I love this so much because it's Joker is smiling and Tim's really frowning, and he's like, "You can't fool me. There ain't no sanity clause," which is a Marx Brothers quote. Which
And
Joker's
Joker,
like,
laughs so
I get
much.
that.
Yeah.
He's like, very good, a Marx Brothers quote, and because he made him laugh, he doesn't kill these kids.
Yeah, he swerves out of the way of Santa and all these kids.
And I love Robin. So Robin decides to start trolling Joker at this point.
Yeah.
Saying, sure, I love the big store. And he's like, that's not from the big store. That's from
A Night at the Opera.
And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure it's.
And Joker gets so upset.
Yeah.
You call yourself a fan? It's from the contract scene. Groucho and Chico are going back and forth over the singer's deal and tearing up bits of and then Tim Drake cracks him in the mouth.
Yeah, he finally got his hands loose, and now he's basically making his escape, grabbing the rearview mirror and just smashing Joker's face with it.
And he says, like, one chance to do this fast. Don't make jokes. Just go Batman on his ass.
Just jumps into the back seat. Joker tries to punch him, but he holds up one of the dead bodies and he slams into their teeth.
Brutal.
Yeah, so like punching some. So he grabs one of the Jokerized people and uses them as like a body shield. And
he sprays
when you punch
Joker in
somebody-
the face, and then he's like he starts rolling out of the car. He's like, "No, you don't win this way. Not with my own damn joke."
Now he found the car and he sees a truck coming towards him, and he says, "If this weren't happy to me, it'll be funny." What the hell? I could take a joke. And he jumps off the side before the truck can hit him.
He gets hit.
I
It
think
says
he gets
wham.
hit, yeah.
Oh, it does
Yeah,
hit?
yeah.
Oh, you're right. It says wham. It says wham, and he falls into oncoming traffic on the
Laughing.
bridge.
Yeah, but then you get the scene where it's Robin. He's like, any point in hoping that they found his body on the street, and Batman's like, doesn't look like it. He says, I'm proud of you, Tim.
My favorite thing about this is Batman's still so dark, and well, he's nice to Tim. He's like, I'm proud of you, Tim. You took the worst Joker could give, and you beat him. That may not make you feel better about his victims, but he won't be hurting anyone else for a long time. And Tim's like, that's something, I guess. Batman said, sometimes that's all we get. And I just like the idea that Batman's like, he's definitely not dead, but he got fucked up so bad that at least he'll be gone for a little while.
That's the best I could do to him. So if you did to him, you got A+.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, I was like, you really should just kill the Joker. There's no moral quandary about this.
Yeah. But so that to me is like a perfect example of Denny's style where like this is just one issue. It's a regular size, like 22 pages, and this is to me at least a really great take on the Joker. It's a really compelling story that does all the characters justice, and it's concise, and it's I love this book.
It's tense,
really
it's dramatic, it's like frightening, and it like you said, it showcases the Joker really well where you're like, it's this terrifying humor that like you don't want to be trapped with.
If you want a single issue to show what the Joker is, I think this is a good display.
Also, it's just like you could tell that he comes from like a serialized background with TV because like the Groucho Marx, like the Marx Brothers setup and payoff is so good.
Yep.
It's just like a short, quick, and when you see them just like watching a Marx Brothers movie, he pivots to talking about the Joker as like a comedian figure. So it could just be establishing, just like some sort of character point, but instead it actually has a payoff. And like, I just think this
very
is like a
smart.
masterfully written
But
issue.
both of these issues that we read for this weren't very holiday issue like oriented, but they were both very good.
Yeah.
This is what I consider a great holiday issue. That's why I picked them.
It's as holiday as like Die Hard is holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes place technically in the holiday season.
If we didn't read The Punisher dressing up as Santa, that would have been holiday to me. you got to be Santa.
The Joker's wearing a Santa hat the whole time,
Yeah.
so that makes
yes.
pushes
Yeah.
it over.
But he didn't dress up as Santa.
He wore a Santa hat.
Someone's got to dress up as Santa.
I mean, there is the Santa he almost runs over. Maybe that was the real Santa. You don't know.
I don't know. He could
And
be.
the Santa show up after this story, I have to go check.
Maybe. Well, he doesn't kill him, remember, because of the reference.
Oh yes, Robin saved Santa's life.
Robin saves Santa.
So
Okay.
anyway, yeah. So that's what we.
Lobo gets him.
Yeah, until Lobo gets him. So that's what we decided not to do for our episode, and I'm glad we did it anyway here on the Patreon because that was
Fuck the rules. We do whatever we want.
fuck the rules we make. Okay, so thank you guys for another month of backing us on Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
I've been Ryan.
I've been Sly.
I've been Phil.
I've been Daryl.
Stay in Patreon mode.